Good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us on the Monday night panel. Hope you all enjoyed the game on Saturday. Just a couple of things from me. Vic will go through SAS travel with you shortly. Just one of the main things, happy birthday to Nick from the Falls Rush In, from all of us here at the Monday night panel and the OSC. Another thing I just wanted to put as a bit of sort of nice things. There's been a lot of social media this weekend again, slating one of the players, which is never nice. But I just wanted to, what everybody else's opinion is of how the club have actually, or the team have actually come together. The squad really seems to be looking out for each other on and off the pitch. Again, it was shown with when there was some bad social media, other players come in to defend them. And on the pitch, if there's something going on, everybody's there to help one another. Marcel had a terrible time with cramp on Saturday, and everybody was coming over and helping him. Fraser run back to celebrate with Sol at the goal. So I think it's nice that we've got that togetherness again on there. So yes, just to get away from this bad social media that we have. So right, so let's get Vic on. Hiya, Vic.
Hi, Chris, and congratulations and good luck for tomorrow, your final day of work before you join the ranks of, like me, who retire.
Thank you very much. Yes, it's going to come very, it's going to be a bit of a shock Wednesday morning, waking up and thinking, what do I do now? But
well, the answer to that is nothing, if you've got any sense.
I know. I've got a book to finish. That's what I'm going to be doing Wednesday morning.
There you go.
Thank you very much. So yes, Vic. So I didn't want to get on my high horse again about social media.
No, fair enough. James Spencer's already messaged us to say, please stop slating our players. I mean, my view is these players are they're in their first season of professional football, some of them. And if you want to destroy somebody's confidence, that's up to you, but it doesn't really do them a lot of good, does it? No. So come on, let's get behind them. They're young men.
As I say, write it, read it twice, and then post it if you think it's right.
I agree.
So, so there you go. Okay, so do you want to go with SAS?
Yeah, SAS travel will be open from tomorrow night, 7:00 on phone bookings only. They'll have a Sutton reserve list. Of course, Sutton is on Valentine's Day. February the 14th, that's away at Ganders Green Lane. So they've got a reserve list for that. And also there are last few seats for Newport on Saturday. I believe they leave the county ground at 9:00. It's a 12:45 kickoff, don't forget. So if you want to get in touch with SAS Travel, it's tomorrow night from 7:00, and that's what they've got available. And also, I'd like to say best wishes tonight to Nick and his dad, Tim. Now, Nick is a train guard and had a great chat with Andrew Cousins on the way home on Saturday, if that's possible. Anyway, he did. And so there we are. So hello to Nick and Tim. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. So let's get the panel on, and I'm just going straight across the line. So we've got Jason.
Hello there.
Deputy Martin.
Evening.
We've got Mitchell. We've got another deputy, Joe.
Hiya.
We've got Dan, and we've got Ronnie. So we've got a bit of a full house tonight. So Mark's on questions. So any comments, put them in the comments, and then we'll get through as many as we can. And I will see you all later.
Chris, thanks very much indeed. Welcome. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A lot of people. I run out of fingers. Welcome all of you. Thank you very much indeed. We've got lots to discuss over the next hour or so. Lots of messages coming in already. Mickey says, lucky you, Chris, enjoy retirement. Kevin says, unbelievable. This is regarding the slating of players on social media. Please stop. Sean says, not seen it, but why has a player been slated? Whole team been outstanding last couple of games. And Steve says, some of our fans are embarrassing. We'll get onto that a little later, I think. Let's whiz around the panel. I want to talk to Martin specifically in a little while. But Johnny, let's go to you first. Sorry about the Bengals. Nearly at the Super Bowl. Not quite. Commiserations. What's going on? From the Swindon Advertiser, Johnny Leafield, what is going on?
Where do I start? I presume with the manager, I guess is the easiest place, or the head coach. I don't think it's too far away. It's one of those things where it's not a simple process. Obviously a lot of people that have been involved in it. I think as things stand, it's sort of waiting on like the EFL to sort of tick it off and give their approval, whatever approval they need to give, and then it can be announced. But obviously, poor Dave, it's been really frustrating. I do feel sorry for him because it's not his fault, but this is that. Yeah, it's kind of the latest with the head coach.
I guess the frustration from Swindon fans' point of view is that we're seeing it in various other streams, not from the club. Dave Rickson, of course, the media person at the county ground. I know it must be very frustrating for him, and I, like you, I feel for him. But it is annoying from Swindon fans' perspective that they're seeing it elsewhere. Is that what you're finding?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult, doing what I do. I'm not frustrated that other people are getting it first, because that's sort of what happens. I think the club might want to look at who's telling, people are clearly being told. It's not Dave's fault at all. Someone's obviously keen to say something they shouldn't. I think, there's only a few people involved in these things. So, how's it getting out? I think the club are obviously kind of rightly getting a bit of backlash from the fans, because it shouldn't be getting out to Sky or whoever. The club should be able to be strong enough to say, no, sorry, we're doing it through our own channels, and then this sort of thing doesn't happen. But well, it is what it is, as they say.
Yeah, what's your best reading of the situation? We'll be finding out in the next 24 hours or so.
Yes, I would say so.
Okay. Fair enough. Johnny, thanks very much. We'll talk later. Mitchell, you're nodding your head, shaking your head, all sorts of things with your head. What are your views on this?
Well, I was about to say it, but Joe Rogers has pretty much said it. Why does it always seem to be Swindon who seem to have these? Yeah, I think one situation we can go, yeah, fair enough. It might have been a manager situation last year in the summer, but when you do that, the Charlie Austin situation, Lindsay leaving, and now that Morris coming in, it's not one, it's not twice, it's every single announcement in the last 6 months seems to be this case. And other clubs don't seem to have a delay of, cross the T's, dot the I's. Do we have people in the club who are not capable of doing things quick enough? I'm not criticising anyone, I'm just saying, do we not have the experience in the club who know how to do things? Or it just feels like only us. Look at Forest Green, someone gone, someone in place. Why didn't they have to wait for Duncan Ferguson? Why do we have to wait? Why are we the ones who seem to be slow at everything?
Okay, well, I get your frustration. Joe Archer, welcome, Joe. Your first appearance on tonight. You've been on the Fools Rush In, of course, but welcome to tonight's panel. What are your views on this?
Frustration, and it's right, isn't it? I think that there's a lot of people now speculating that Town don't have to officially announce it because Sky have done it for us. I think, people are there's lots of speculation, there's lots of rumours, scaremongering, and that's probably my best take on it, is that it is frustrating. I'm one of these people that constantly refresh Twitter just to see if there's anything come out at all every hour, but no, unfortunately not. We've just got to wait, haven't we? We've got to just do the process, I suppose.
You're right. I mean, I've spent most of the day looking at my phone, which is ridiculous, really. I ought to get a life, I guess. But Dan, I know you've been on the Loathed Strangers. What are your views on this? It's difficult to be critical of the admin, Dave, at the county ground, because he can only do what the club asks him to do. So, I think that's fair to say straight away. But what's your view?
Well, as a fan, it is a bit frustrating. We all want the appointment made. We want to hear the sound bites from Jody Morris and his new assistant, Ed Brand. We want to see the scarf shot. We want to do all the nice fluffy stuff. But, if it is EFL approval that we're waiting on, I wonder, do the managers and the assistant managers' wages count towards the financial fair play rules, Johnny? Do you know? Are they just trying to work out how it all fits in financially? I'm just speculating. But, I wouldn't worry. I think from what I've heard, Jody Morris and his new assistant were in the building today. I think to all intents and purposes, he is the manager of Swindon Town. It's been reported by Sky Sports. It's been reported by TalkSport this evening as well. So it is just odd, really, really odd. why wouldn't the football club want to control the narrative? Why wouldn't they want to ride a wave of positivity and release the news themselves? But yeah, as Mitchell's touched on, there's a bit of a leaky roof at the county ground in terms of information.
Yeah, Charles says not hard to announce it when he was literally sat in the stands. Daz St George says, hello Daz, ITV West announced it tonight. Another one. It seems Matt Taylor says, read the leaks. Is it because the fella from Sky seems to be involved a lot and does match day hospitality, etc.? Well done, Mitch. The clock is right, says Andrew. Well done for you. Rich James says, I'm not going to watch Swindon if Morris is in charge. Okay, fair enough. I'm not quite sure why that is, but I'll come to you in a minute, Martin, because we've got a lot to talk about with mountains and stuff. But Jason, your view on what's going on at the moment? I mean, you're in the sponsors lounge a lot. You mix with the upper echelons, if I might say. What's your take on it?
Yeah, well, I personally think that he's probably done all the picks today. He's probably took training today. You know, in all essence, he's in post, like you say. It's got to be something like to do with the wages potentially. I mean, that was a good example of potentially having some approval from the Football League to get it over the line. And because Clem will know that this is all a bit frustrating for fans. We have seen it, like I say, with the Scott Lindsay. There's some talk. I think he was the original target. I might be wrong here, but I think he was probably one of the ones that they went after. And not like probably last time where someone offered it and changed his mind and gave it to someone else. But who knows the answer, Vic, to that? Whether we find out eventually, I don't know.
Yeah, thank you for that. I mean, we've got lots of people coming in here. Paul says, hopefully new coach is busy with transfer dealings. That, of course, is another reason it might be a bit odd because tomorrow's that ridiculous transfer deadline window thing. That's the most important thing. How does link with Spurs defender get out? That's Malachi Fagan Walcott, a 20-year-old left-sided centre-back, which we'll talk about a little later on. Martin, welcome to the Monday night panel. Thank you very much indeed for being there, because you won't be there for much longer. Explain why you won't be there for much longer.
So this weekend, Vic, then I'm heading to Tanzania, and I'm going to attempt to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, which is the tallest freestanding mountain in the world at just over 19,000 feet.
Right. Is this just a weekend thing, or is there some other reason for it?
So this is going to be 8 days for me, 6 days up, 2 days down, hopefully. So it's something I've been sort of planning and training for a good sort of 7 or 8 months now.
What's it in aid of? Because you are doing it for a very good reason, aren't you?
Yeah, so an opportunity was given to me by Imagine Cruising. They've got an ethos called One Life, and it's about making sure you live your life and make the most of every day. For 12 people, they were gifted an opportunity. I've always wanted to go and climb Kilimanjaro, so that was basically the story. That's what I was going to do, and then I was going to try and raise some money for some local charities. And then my sister-in-law got diagnosed with breast cancer, so it made sense to try and raise some money for a local breast cancer charity. So everything I'm doing is now in aid of Aurora Breast Cancer Wellbeing, that's based at Great Western in Swindon.
Well, we wish the family well, obviously. That's first and foremost the most important thing. In terms of the logistics of this, how do you train for climbing Mount Kilimanjaro? I mean, I suppose you could climb up Gorse Hill, but it's not quite, or Kings Hill, but it's not quite the same, is it, really? Yeah,
it's a bit difficult, really. So the altitude is the biggest problem on Kilimanjaro. So when you get to the summit, there's only 50% of the oxygen that there is at sea level. So to try and train for that is really difficult. So the only training that I can really do is just getting loads and loads of miles in, loads and loads of cardio, just getting really, really fit, ready for it. So the altitude is going to be different when I get there.
Sure. What are you expecting then? Have you ever, I mean, you are involved with Imagine Cruising. You'll notice I very kindly put a shirt up with Imagine Cruising on behind me. I hope you noticed that. And Dan's got one too. How about that? So you're getting plenty of plugs tonight. But how do you mentally prepare for that? Because it's not just the physical side of it, it's the mental side too, isn't it?
Yeah, sure. And I think the mental and physical side go hand in hand. I think that's one thing I've kind of learned over the training period, that your mental side of it just grows and grows with confidence as your physical ability just gets better. But it's just trying to realize every scenario that you'll go through and how you're going to cope with it. And I'm sure there'll be many challenges when I go there, but I think I'm in the best shape I can possibly be. And I think that's where I wanted to get to with a week to go. Was there anything else I could have done? And I don't think there is. So I'm really happy with the place I am at the moment.
That's good to know. And what about in terms of logistics with people supporting you? It's not you're not doing it on your own, I assume. You've got other people with you.
Yeah, so it's you have to go on a guided trek on a complete tour. So there's guides, medics. I think in our group there'd be somewhere between 8 and 12 people climbing with us as well. And then there's porters that go with us as well, because we've got about 25 kilos of kit to take, so that'll be split between all of us. So yeah, it's quite a logistical piece to kind of go and do. But the guys that are doing it locally all the time, they're up and down all the time, so they're really used to this.
Are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, I am. I'm really looking forward to it. I just want to get going now. As I'm getting closer and closer to it, I'm getting more and more nervous, a little bit apprehensive about it. But the overriding emotion is definitely excitement. There's no doubt about that.
You're also raising money in other ways too, aren't you, with auctions and things like that? Tell us about it.
Yeah, so the plan was really, so when we put it together and we thought about how much money could we raise, we thought we'd put a fairly big target out there of £5,000. We totally underestimated the strength of feeling and how good the community is in and around Swindon. So we're currently sat at just over 12,500, and then this Friday an online charity auction will run for 3 weeks. Loads of items in there, 50 to 60 items in there. Swindon Town have been fantastic. So we've got some season tickets in there, got some hospitality, we've got a mascot package. But we've also got things like we've got an England cricket shirt, we've got a signed shirt from the main England squad, senior squad. David Hayes signed a glove and sent that down as well. There's some cruises from Imagine Cruising, so they've been really generous as well. And local people have just been fantastic. So we're hoping to raise in excess of £5,000 from this auction.
And that goes online. What's the address that people should go to?
So I'll send that through, and if you can post that through, that'd be great. I know the Community Foundation are doing exactly the same, and Swindon Town through their media guys will do a social post and send it to their database as well. So it should be out there on Friday to everybody.
Marvellous. We'll do our very best to get it out as well. I mean, I should also say we're delighted that you're helping with the official supporters club as well in some sort of advisory capacity. So it's great to have you on board as well. So thank you very much for that. You're looking forward to doing that. You're dealing with people like me.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure, really. I mean, the club's in a good place, best place it's been for years and years. So it's just about how can we pull everybody together to make it even better, I think, and move everything on. I think the supporters club do a fantastic job, but it's now time for a bit of a reset and just understand how can we work closer with the club and move us forward into the future, really.
So when do you actually leave? What time do you go on? When are you going?
So I leave Sunday afternoon, arrive Monday morning locally, and then I'll start my climb on Tuesday morning.
Martin, we wish you all the very best. You're going to stay with us, I know, for the rest of the panel, but I think everybody will say exactly that. Well done. Yeah, quite.
Thank you
we wish you all the very best. Yes.
Thank you.
Right, Martin Palmer will be with us for the rest of the panel, but we wish him sincerely all the very best. I'm just looking, Mitchell, at some of the comments that are coming in. This is from James. Really doing my head in, people slating the new coach already before a ball is even kicked. If you don't like it, there is another club down the A419. Seriously does my head in. Yes, Chris Levy says Jody was on TalkSport earlier as Swindon manager. Good luck, Martin, says Anthony. Let's have a look. Hopefully new coach is busy with transfer dealings. That's the most important thing. How does the link get out? Yeah, lots coming in, so we'll get to them in a minute. Mitchell, what are your thoughts on that? People having a go at the manager before he's even joined. I mean, give the bloke a chance, for goodness sake.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a running joke that I have that I will have my thoughts in my head when a manager gets put. And to be honest, from previous experience, every way I've thought, I've been pretty much wrong. But I'll say John Sheridan, pretty much you know what's going to happen there. And I'd say the last manager, bar that, didn't think Richie would work, wasn't happy with it, wasn't happy with Mark Cooper, was absolutely buzzing with David Flitcroft and Phil Brown. So you don't know, do you? Yeah, it's one of those things where you go, what's on paper or what your opinion is. You got to give everyone a chance. I think every single Swindon fan wanted Scott Lindsay to do well. There wasn't one single person who didn't want him to do well that I can think of. Give the bloke a chance, and to be honest, this is a good appointment in my eyes. This ticks all the boxes from someone who's done the rounds at youth level, somebody who's been a number 2 in the Premier League, in the Championship, got really good connections in the game. It might not work out, but this is a pretty good appointment in my personal eyes.
The thing is, Johnny, you never know whether a manager's going to work out until he's the manager. I mean, you could have Jose Mourinho in tomorrow and he may or may not work out. You just don't know, do you?
Oh no, I mean that's pretty much the thing about, obviously, like Chris touched on earlier. I think everyone's allowed their opinion if it's based on kind of what you've seen, or it's got some logic behind it at least. Like with the players, I think if you're criticising maybe Wakeland for not scoring enough goals, I don't know, maybe you could have that argument. But to say he doesn't try hard enough is just factually incorrect. Like you can't say that. So it's sort of the same with the manager or the head coach. On paper, yeah, he's done some pretty good things. Obviously won like the quadruple with Chelsea under 18s. He's worked in some good places. I think they did okay with Derby initially. Obviously, you can only really you can have initial thoughts, but you can only really judge him on the job that he does at Swindon, because ultimately this is his first senior men's managerial job. So you kind of have to just see what happens and then go from there. But you can't really, I don't think you can really have too many strong opinions either way when he hasn't done anything, basically.
No, I think that's always the point with any manager. You just don't know what's going to happen. Craig says, looking forward to seeing a photo of Martin wearing a town shirt atop Kilimanjaro. That's an absolute must. And if that doesn't happen, Martin will be very, very disappointed. Joe, what's your views on this? Here's a young man. He's at the start of his managerial career. Many people have said, well, we've had a great record with that. Why aren't we doing it again? They're doing it again. So what's your view on this?
I'm very much the same as Mitchell and as Johnny, to be honest with you. We're not going to know until he's in post. We just have to believe that the people that are making the decisions to bring Jody in, we've got to put trust in them. That's what they're paid to do. So I think, yeah, we just have to wait and see. We really do. Nobody knows. If we had a crystal ball, it'd be great. We'd surely probably, all be doing something very different in life. But yeah, we don't know what it's going to be like. Give the bloke a chance, for God's sake.
There we go. That's fair enough. I think that's the point, isn't it, Dan? I mean, you've got to give whatever manager your point. You can't slate him before he starts his job.
No, I mean, I wouldn't give too much credence to one person writing into this Monday night panel saying they're not going if they don't, if Morris gets appointed. I think overall the feedback on Morris has been really positive. I'm feeling really happy about it. I think you're getting a man who, back to his playing days, was a good Premier League player. You look at some of the people he's shared a changing room with at Chelsea. You're talking about some of the best talent in the world at that point in the late 90s and early thousands. We're getting a very highly regarded coach, someone who's well connected and has worked at a couple of top clubs in Chelsea and Derby County. I know Derby find themselves in League One now, but normally sort of top end Championship club. So this kind of fits the Swindon Town mantra of my lifetime. Giving someone biggish name, first job in football. I think it's a bit of a coup that we've managed to lure the Chelsea under-18s manager Ed Brand to come and be his assistant as well. He seems to be a very highly regarded coach in his own right. So I think this is going to see a big uplift in the professionalism on the football side of the club. I can't see Jody Morris suffering prisoners, but at the same time, I think there's going to be a large focus on development, playing good football, and hopefully that brings over the next 19 games exactly what we all want on this panel, right? Wins and promotion.
Absolutely. Starting on Saturday at Newport, of course. Darren says, with Morris's connection to under 19, well, this is flipped down as I was reading it. At under 19 level, he has high level player experience. It's a no-brainer that he's the right choice. Sean says, out of all the names, I think Morris is a decent move. I'd imagine he's got great contacts. I would have been happy to give Gavin the job if he had the badges, but I believe the FA regs mean he can only manage for 3 months. I believe it is. Claire says, I hope Jody and Ed do well. Their background, pedigree and experiences should put them in good stead. Fingers crossed and wish them all the best. All they've got to do is get us promoted, right? Martin, that's the thing. Promotion is what we want.
It's a difficult one for them, isn't it? I mean, they're coming in and the expectation's really high. I think it's a great appointment, to be honest, but I think people have got to be patient and give them time. I think every manager that comes in will want to set his style of play. He will want his own set of players as well. Effectively, he's come in right at the end of the window. Might be able to get I don't know with the loans, whether he can get a loan or something like that. But outside of it, it is what it is until the end of the season. So he's just got to find a way of playing and get the best out of the players we've got already.
You've been involved with the sponsorship of the club. Do sponsors ever have a say in this, or is it just a club decision?
It's a club decision. Yeah, the sponsors wouldn't be. We would be the last to know, I think. And based on the communication coming out of the club or the lack of it around the manager, it's definitely not a conversation with the sponsors at all.
Fair enough. Morris is a good signing if he has the experience and connections, but he doesn't. Sandro signs the players. He's never managed in the EFL before, and his experiences with youth players. He's a small step up from Lindsay due to his playing career, but I'm happy to keep quiet for the first 10 games. There you go. Mark Jeffrey says, Lou Macari, Ozzy Ardiles, Glenn Hoddle, enough. Why not Jody? There we are. Jason's back with us. I don't know how much you've heard of all that. But your views on Jody Morris. I mean, it's an exciting appointment. Ed Brand is coming in as well. He's got a very good reputation with Chelsea's youth team. They'll have great connections within the game. It's all positive, right?
For me, it is. Yeah, definitely. Like you say, played at the highest level. He's coached youth at the top clubs in the Premier League. He sat on the bench next to other managers learning the trade. I think it's exciting. He's obviously wanted the right person with him for the journey. And I think everyone should be excited by it. I think he'll bring in obviously a strong connection with loanees, developing players, which is what the ethos of the town is at the moment, and the way the club will want to go forward. So I think, yeah, I'm excited by it.
Malcolm says, whilst we have some success with rookie managers, not every ex-player makes it. Only time will tell, and as long as we don't go back to Lindsay Ball, that's a start. Morris was wanted by Championship and League One clubs and was interviewed by some, so it's definitely a very good appointment. Morris was largely the brains behind the Lampard partnership at Derby and Chelsea, says James. Johnny, I mean, we should say, of course, that partnership very nearly got Derby into the Premier League, didn't it?
Yeah, I thought I'd misremembered earlier, but I'm sure there was a game they played at Leeds. Did they play Leeds in the playoffs? I think I remember the regular season game, I think, or it might have been the playoff game. Was amazing. It was like one of the best playoff games ever, just drama. But obviously it doesn't come anywhere near any Swindon game because it seems to trump every single other one. But yeah, they did pretty well, obviously. So you'd hope that you can have some sort of bounce. I think just having a quick look at our next 3 games, they're not against teams that are doing brilliantly at the moment. Obviously, table, I don't think anyone, Newport something like 19th and Donny 15th or something like that. So there's the possible for that new manager bounce to kind of help him along a little bit, and until he sort of gets his ideas like firmly kind of coached into the players, and then when you've got a little bit of a trickier run in sort of March time, then hopefully it'll be up and running. But there's only 19 games left. It sort of it actually doesn't feel like not that many, and it's so tight in that little race. I think the club have really got to be. I'm sure they will be, but I think they've really got to be aiming for third. I think you can probably reel Northampton back in. Who knows of Orient at the moment? Orient at the moment.
Yeah.
They're
having a blip.
One hell of a slide. So
yeah.
Look, you got win your own games. Just like they say, it's a cliche, but it's true. Win your own games. Concentrate on yourself. Beat as many teams as you can, and then hopefully you don't have to go through the playoffs again. Because I don't think any of us need that.
We certainly don't need another night like Port Vale. That's a dead cert. A lot of fans going on about lack of signings, but I'm nervous about it if we lose any more players. Don't know who else seen the post about what McDonald said to fans. I'm clock watching for the window to close, worried about losing Williams. Club no ambition if he has to get flogged. What are we, Johnny? There's Malaki Fagan Walcott from Tottenham, this 20-year-old centre-back, left-sided. There's lots of other names being bandied about. There always are. I mean, what's your take on who we're getting, who we're losing?
I was looking at our squad earlier, actually, and it's absolutely massive. Like, I think it's on transfer marks says something like 29. I counted 31 if you count sort of the likes of Abu Khani, Mo Dabra, and things like that. I don't know. I think the midfield looks a little. Well, obviously it just is. It's not no hot take, but the midfield's a little light. There's, I think, 3 recognised centre midfielders, if I remember rightly. I think they really need at least 1, maybe 2 tomorrow. I would have preferred. I don't know how I feel about the experience line. I'm sure we can talk about. Everyone else can talk about that, but I feel like if you're going to lose McDonald, which seems fairly likely, and you're bringing in someone 10 years younger than him, and he doesn't really have any experience, surely sooner or later, or in certain situations, that lack of experience will cost you. You've got to have some names. Like, okay, you know, Gunning said the other day, oh, we've got Austin, we've got Blake Tracy, but is 2 enough? I don't know. Like, maybe he's being naturally pessimistic, and they might well be enough. But you're looking around the ages of the squad. You just off the top of my head, you got hardly any of, like they said, hardly any of them are 22 or older. So in certain crunch situations, especially if it starts to get tense near the end of the year, you feel like you're going to need some experience to lean back on. Otherwise, it becomes a bit panic stations. Obviously, the crowd don't really help because you just get naturally nervous in those situations. You just want the team to win, and they don't have any experience to just calm them down. So I know that that's the way the club wants to go, but surely you got to balance it a little bit, because too much of either thing is, invariably ends in disaster, doesn't it?
You'll never win anything with kids, Alan Hansen once famously said. But, they were a certain brand of kids, I think it's fair to say, isn't it? This is from Paddy. To be honest, Vic, we're now completely used to finding out Swindon Town news from third parties. It makes the club look tin pot, yet they continue in the same vein. Put it this way, if it was one of our rivals, we'd be ridiculing them. Paddy, thank you very much indeed for that. Loads. I reckon Williams will be on his way, says Daz. Ryan Whelan just goes Iandolo off in all. I'm not really sure what that means. Oh, off and all. I think that means. I reckon Williams will be on his way, says Daz. I've done that one. Big difference between Morris and Lindsay is Jody was put into a coaching position with a top-tier elite youth squad. In comparison, Lindsay Garner, lower league coaches, the board's ambition is bang on. Martin, I mean, ambition is this thing that's often talked about, isn't it? What is ambition in football, would you say?
I think it's different at every club, every level, isn't it? It's doing the best that you possibly can with the resources that are available to you. I think we're all ambitious. As we would all like to see Swindon up the leagues. We all think we're a far bigger club than lots of the teams in League One and the Championship, but we are where we are. It feels like we're in that rebuilding phase again. I think they need to get lots of things right off the pitch, which they made tremendous amounts forward over the past couple of seasons. I just hope Morris does well. I think it's a great appointment. I'm sure lots of other clubs would have liked him. And I think it shows the board's intention that we are ambitious to go and get somebody with, okay, he hasn't got a huge managerial experience, but he's got top pedigree as a player and as a youth team coach, to be honest.
Right, I'm going to throw this one to you, Mitch. James says, what's your opinions on the Gladwin sale? For me, a good bit of business. He played his best football for us under Lindsay and Garner, out of contract at the end of the season. And I do believe there are better midfielders out there. People moan, but I remember Swindon who always used to let contracts run down and go for free. The fact that we are now cashing in on players is fantastic. What's your view on that?
I think it reiterates what Johnny said a bit. We need experience, okay? And I was openly not a Gladwin fan last season. had it been for every time he came back prior to him going. He's been great this season, and I wouldn't have sold him. I would have sold him if he was refusing to sign a contract. So Reed down made sense. The interview from Crawley made it very clear that there was no contract on the table for him at Swindon anymore. So we said, we're not going to offer you a contract. So we've moved him on. My concern is we're lacking experience, and not just that, we're lacking size. So on Saturday, that their centre forward went, right, I'm going to go on Brennan, stay on Brennan, and he won everything. It wasn't until Blake Tracy went, I'm going to have to go right centre back and stand him. McDonald isn't, in my opinion, technically a fantastic player, but he headers the ball and he boots the ball. And if he does that, he's solid. And he does talk. So him and Blake Tracy communicate fine. We have no experience in that without Blake Tracy. We have no size in that centre midfield without Gladwin. Like, he actually won headers this year. We have no strength, no size, no experience. I wouldn't have let Gladwin go just for the fact that reason. Everyone we're bringing in seems to be really good technicians. But when you put in the Lincoln guy, Boswick, when you put like centre back now, right, put him in midfield, bit a bit hustle bustle and so on. Our players are not going to like it. They're not going to like it. Every set piece we're going to be targeted because we're going to have to go zonal as opposed to man for man. I just feel it leaves us vulnerable and inexperienced in games where we're going to need to be able to put our foot on the ball, and just go right, take it to the corner or chill, breathe. Our most experienced player when we defend can't be our centre forward, screaming the other end of the pitch, going, "Calm down!" It just doesn't work.
Joe, what's your? Oh, sorry, go on. Joe,
so I would have let him go.
Okay, Joe, what's your view on that? Gladwin's one of these players who divides opinion, isn't he? We've unmute yourself, Joe.
User error. Sorry.
Okay.
I don't know. I think the way we want to go with the squad, I don't necessarily think that he would have. He looked a little bit slow, and I think that he went with. I think he'll do well under Scott Lindsay. I'm not really. What can I say about Ben Gladwin? He's a nice guy. Bit Marmite for me, unfortunately.
No, well, that's a phrase that you could use for most supporters, isn't it? So are you worried about that lack of experience, though? Because, we are bringing a lot of young players in. We have got a lot of young players in that team. Sometimes younger players don't have any fear, though, do they?
No, they don't. And I think there's going to be a lack of experience. I think I saw today one of the articles on Swindon that there was 5 potential players that were going to be bought in or something, and there was a couple of. Well, I think one of those were 28. I can't remember his name now. I did read it and write it down, but it's not with me now. But yeah, experience. Do you not think that, like you said, Vic, that bringing a bit of youth and a bit of life and a bit of that gutsiness into town, surely that's a good thing?
Well, we've had a lot of young players who've come in and done very well, Jason, haven't we? I mean, when you look back over the years, you think of Bert Head's babes back in the early 60s. I mean, they weren't experienced players, were they? Look what they turned out to be like.
A bit before my time, that one, Vic. But, yeah. But I think going back to, I think it was the man of the match guy Saturday did an interview, didn't he? And he was saying about how Morris is going to bring lots of intensity now. The training is going to be much tougher, and I think to implement that, you're going to have fit young players to play the way he wants to play. Personally, on Gladwin, on a day, he's a match winner. Yeah, great skill, but injury prone potentially, and probably won't fit in the way that Town are going to move to. But I get what Mitch is saying about experience. We do need that, and let's say the window's not shut yet, so perhaps there's something in the pipeline for that. But I'm quite happy that he's went in a way.
Yeah, lots of people. Pete Langer, hello, Pete, says we all day long need experience in this league. I say again, if we lose any more experienced players, we won't go up. We're vulnerable against the size of players fielded by other teams in League Two. Malcolm says, Mitchell, Gladwin could hardly had a ball save his life. Passes 40 yards, can't pass 10, rarely shoots, and for his side gets knocked off the ball too easily. Dan, I mean, I can't think of a player at Swindon in a long time who've divided opinion so much. It's extraordinary, really. If you said to 50% of the crowd they all love him, if you said to 50% they didn't love him, what is it about Ben Gladwin?
Well, I'm very much in the love him camp. So a few things. Let's try and debunk. So someone referenced Gladwin being injury prone. I would contest that and say since he's been back at Swindon in this spell, he has mostly been fit and available. It wouldn't surprise me if this latest injury was an element of keeping him on the sidelines to make sure he doesn't get injured, so that we're able to challenge Crawley. So I wouldn't pay too much attention to that injury. But I mean, more than anything, he's been one of our best players this season. I appreciate some people might think he's a bit slow. I think that's just his playing style. He is a good creator. Like Mitch says, he does give you size, particularly when defending set pieces. He's won dozens and dozens of defensive headers this year. And the bit that really gets me sort of in terms of the heart is, he is a Swindon club man. And off the field, he's currently doing his coaching badges. We've heard previously he's coaching the under-16s a couple of times a week. So on a human being level, it seems like you're losing a really good human asset from the club. And when you've got 19 games to go in the run-in, that experience does count for a lot. I'm not saying you need a team full of 30-year-olds, and I'm not saying you can win it with a team full of 20-year-olds, but I think in the key positions, centre-half, centre-mid, centre-forward, if you could have a few grizzly been there, done it types, then that's going to help the frame of the side, which can then be much more youthful, much more inexperienced. It's all about blend. That's the word that's probably been missing from this debate. You need a blend. League Two is a tough physical league. We saw it last year. You need to be able to mix it because there will be games where it's a physical test as well as a footballing test.
Really hope we can keep Charlie Austin next season. Definitely valid player, says Michael. Lee says, I must admit, I was a bit sad when we sold Gladders. Whilst I'm glad we are getting money for players, what's up with all this undisclosed? Why can't clubs disclose how much they sold players for anymore, Johnny? I mean, it is, in the good old days, you used to say, we've signed so-and-so for 100 grand. That's a brilliant signing. It didn't necessarily turn out to be like that. But there is a reason, I think, and I've been told the reason. What have you been told about the undisclosed fee?
I'm sure I've said this before, and I really tried to dig in and see if I could find it. I'm convinced I read something once which said Swindon Town invented the undisclosed fee. So there you go. But the reason clubs don't say is because they obviously, depends on the level, but obviously sometimes they don't want to let others know how much money they might have or how much money they might have received for a player. Other than that, it's almost like trying to gain like a business advantage because you can go into negotiations and say, I don't have that much money, and who's to say that you don't? So there's a lot of. I appreciate it's really frustrating for fans. It's frustrating for me because I'd like to know as well. But it's just one of the. I think it's one of those things you might say is one of the problems with modern football.
It's not a Swindon Town problem.
No.
It's industry wide.
That's for sure. Yeah.
I mean, the amount of undisclosed fees you see at the moment is just, we see it all the time, except for Chelsea, who are paying 105 million for a player. I think
for everyone. I've noticed that there's been a weird trend recently. I think it was it Morecambe or Fleetwood said something that they've been changing it from without saying, just sort of giving you an idea. I think it was Fleetwood said they put in a bid for who's the striker they signed earlier? Forget, but it was something like they said, we've signed him for a substantial amount, or we've bid a substantial amount. So clubs aren't saying
Marriott.
That was it. Yeah, Jack Marriott said they said they're sort of saying without saying because to try and appease the fans. But it's just sort of a business strategy, I guess you'd call it.
I see Louis Barry's gone to Salford today, hasn't he? So we'll be playing him in a couple of weeks' time. I think, is that a loan? I think it's probably a loan. I'm not sure.
It's a loan, yeah.
Yeah.
Like Louis Barry.
Pardon? Sorry, that again.
He's a really nice kid, really like Lou Barry, just proper. What do you call him? Almost like naive, but like in a nice way. He didn't almost like he doesn't quite. Yeah, I don't. In a nice way, he doesn't quite understand how the world works, but you sort of appreciate that sort of naivety about him.
Well, let's hope he's naive in a couple of weeks' time, eh? Let's have a look. Hello, Fifey. Nice to hear from you. I tried to explain this on Fool's Friday. Purely my opinion, the business makes sense, but there is a lot of lazy opinion on him. Injury prone. He's on Gladwin. Missed 3 this year, I think. Best range of pass, and yes, maybe not as mobile. But for that, one thing he can't do, there's 4 things he does better than anyone we have left, and the crucial experience factor. Steve says last season Williams and Gladwin used to take it in turn to play. Lindsay clearly rates him. He was thinking of calling it a day before Swindon due to injury. Just got to trust the club. Probably score against us on the last day of the season. Martin, I saw a stat the other day where there were only 2 players left at the club that played at Port Vale on the last day of last season, which is Bowdry and Iandolo, which is one heck of a turnover, isn't it, when you think about it?
Unbelievable, really. Yeah, and it's worrying as well that we're never going to see another John Trollope, are we? That's going to play his whole career at one club. If you manage to get 100 games at one club at this level, you've done really, really well. But that 100 games has probably taken you 5 seasons to get to it. So it is a worry. I'd definitely like to see some continuity, some growth that comes with having your own players rather than loans as well. I'm definitely in Johnny's camp as well with the number of players we've actually got on our books. So I'd rather see quality rather than quantity. So if it was a case we had to move quite a lot on in this window and then just shuffle the pack a little bit and get down to a sensible number of maybe 22 or 23, but they're better players, I think that's where we need to be as well.
Yeah, it is important this next 19 games in terms of none of us, Mitchell, want to go through those playoffs again, do we? I mean, last season was terrible. I don't want to go through that again. It was a horrible last night at Port Vale. That was just a dreadful experience. We don't want that again. We want automatic. Is that ambitious? Too ambitious?
Too ambitious. I think, honestly, it's going to be, no one wants to hear this. It's going to be Wembley and it's going to be Charlie's revenge.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
That's what it is.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I get that. Yeah. That would be the most perfect ending to this season, would it not?
We deserve it. Without sounding entitled, we deserve it. I think it's just Swindon is always a story. There's always a story of Swindon. It might be because we're all deluded and we're attached to the club and we feel, but there's always a story with Swindon. It's never let's have a boring season anymore. It's always something dramatic, and I just feel like this is our time. The last 3 times we've not even seen a goal. Like, I just feel like, the 2 we've missed out on penalties, Brentford, Port Vale. Just, I don't know. I got when Charlie signed, I said it, I felt it. I just got a feeling. So
are you predicting then a 1-on-1 late in the game, no bobble, bang, back of the net? Is that what you're predicting?
I think it'll be Charlie winning it. I think it'll go to penalties. I think Charlie scores a winning penalty.
That'll do nicely. Joe.
Not good Johnny's last year prediction, but this is mine.
Joe, I mean, the return of Charlie Austin's been amazing, hasn't it? And he's got 3 goals in 2 games, but it's not just his goals, is it? It's the rest of his play that he brings in to focus. And we were talking about experience. My goodness, he shouts at people, he gets them in the right places, all that sort of stuff. That's what Charlie Austin brings, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think that he's admirable, isn't he? He's a good example, setting a good example for the younger players. And I think that's probably where I would say that the inexperience, I know you can't depend purely on Charlie to, provide that experience to the younger players. But I think that because of the way he is, because of how he is vocal, and like defending Jake Wakelin on social media, that sort of thing, I just think they respect him. And I think in a way that has brought it's brought the camaraderie again, hasn't it, of the team? Whereas before, I think there was that was definitely lacking. It's brought them together more close, I think, the return of Charlie.
Yeah, and also as a Swindon fan, Joe, it's great to see him in a red and white shirt again, isn't it?
I didn't see him the first time. So I'm relatively new to Swindon Town. Well, I say relatively new. I've lived in Swindon for 17 years, but it's only, fairly recently that I've started coming to county ground. But, I've done a lot of research on it and read quite a few articles of back, when he was originally at town and a little bit of a naughty boy. But no, it's great. It's brilliant. I like the hype behind it as well. Reading on socials, is he coming? Is he coming? Before it was leaked by Sky, and it was such positivity, which is something that I don't think that we've necessarily had under previous management, if that makes sense, without saying it.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Jason, I think that moment in his debut when he got that goal, there are a lot of us who had a lot of dust in our eyes. I mentioned it when he was on the programme a couple of weeks ago. It was just dust in our eye. There was something going on. But anyway, that moment was to be treasured, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And, you couldn't. I mean, I was sat in the Don Rogers when we all jumped up and hugged each other. And, yeah, it was great. I mean, even Saturday's goals. I mean, you talk about him being the best natural finisher that you've seen. That second goal, the way he just come across the defender, an instant goal. I get so worried at the moment every time he's sort of a defender's near him at the moment, or wrap him in cotton wool. Don't injure him. But yeah, no, it's great. It's fantastic. It's put more bums on seats. It's raised the atmosphere in the ground 100%. And it's great. It's fantastic. And let's just hope he remains injury-free and continues to score.
Another thing, Dan, is he bosses it around, doesn't he? Do you know what I mean? He was captain on Saturday. I'm guessing he might well be captain for the rest of the season. He has that air about him, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think what you see on Saturday is, there's different types of leadership, and typically football captains tend to be centre halves, centre midfielders, but Austin up front is very much a leader by example. You think about it, he's now 33. He's a very different player to the one we had some 12 years ago. He's only played a couple of games in the last month, one in Australia at the tail end of December, and then 70 minutes against Grimsby. And the most remarkable thing for me on Saturday was, that was a long game. It was a hard game. There's a lot of players out on their feet in that second half. Charlie Austin, the elder statesman, was still putting it in, running the channels, and dragging his teammates with him. That's what good players will do. They will set the example and they will drag players with them. And for the run-in, having him around, even if he's not on the pitch, it's going to be a tremendous coup for Swindon Town.
Johnny, he frightens defenders, doesn't he? I mean, that's the whole point of Charlie Austin. They're scared stiff of him, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, I think without the players, obviously, trying to do their job. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, it's just the name on the back of the shirt, but they'll also be aware that the bloke's playing in the Premier League. He's had a decent couple of seasons at QPR, I think. He's played in the Premier League for multiple years. He's kind of done really well in his career. They'll know that even though he's in League Two currently, he sort of is still capable, as he's shown, of that little moment. Because it's a weird one. Like it's always been, for me, it's always been the way with Charlie that he generally you don't want to say like he doesn't do a lot, because he doesn't do that sort of. He's just clever with what he does. But when he does do it, he scores. It's almost like Saturday, or this sort of the couple of games that he's been back. It's almost like he's been coaching out on the pitch, and then when he gets a spare 30 seconds, he goes and scores, just to help the team out, so he can carry on coaching. So, that's normally wouldn't be a massive fan of strikers as captains, because they're normally a bit selfish and they just want to put the ball in the net. But weirdly, he's one of those kind of characters that. He's got all the right leadership qualities. Like he leads by example. He says, follow me and I will take you to glory. And I think the players believe that. Really, they seem to be kind of united, which is obviously great.
That cross for his goal, though, we should also mention that. I mean, that was sumptuous, wasn't it? But, for a centre forward, look, head that. It's
they
brilliant.
always say, don't they, centre forwards provide the best crosses because they know exactly what the sort of cross that they'd want. So yeah, it was top draw. All you had to do is obviously flick it in and via a slight deflection potentially. Yeah.
That's all he had to do, was get in the right position, head it, and then score. It's simple, really, isn't it? Let's have a look. No way am I going to slate Ben Gladwin, but the thing that frustrated me was more often than not this season, you'd see him going for a tackle and then pull out. Don't shoot from distance like he used to first time round either. John says, oh, hang on, where's it gone? It's disappeared. Oh, yeah, my first game was the Charlie Austin Bobble, and it's been a drama ever since. Yeah, in mine, it's are we unlike any other football club? I mean, we've had 34 managers since the year 2000, which is just bonkers beyond bonkers. Are we a basket case of a club or what?
Yeah, I'm convinced. I mean, I'm sure every club has their dramas, but I think we're something unique. I think if there's something that can go wrong, it's definitely going to go wrong at Swindon, and I think it worries you in the future as well. Fingers crossed, everything that's going on at the club at the moment with the purchase of the county ground is just top notch, and I hope that just comes through, and then we can just start putting this behind us and enjoying our football on and off the pitch.
Yeah, actually, I was going to ask you that, Johnny, because I've got a question about what's happening with the lease, with the exchange of contracts. That's tomorrow, isn't it? As well as the transfer deadline, as well as a new manager. It just happens to be the exchange of contracts as well. Is that right?
I believe so. I think Dan. Are you still on the trust board, Dan? Involved?
I'm not, but I believe
I haven't spoken to Polly in a while. Sorry.
The transaction it was due to go through on the 31st of January, so I've not heard anything to the contrary.
No, that's expected to go through tomorrow, so that's where we're at with that. Mitchell, I mean, the club getting its own ground. There are all sorts of plans in progress for all sorts of things. It looks exciting for the future. I mean, for those of us who are getting on in life, we'd quite like some of the stuff to happen now, but it's going to happen down the line, isn't it? So there are exciting times ahead, I think.
Yeah, it's really exciting times, and I think what Martin just said a minute ago. This is quite a big statement, and I'm a Swindon fan. I've got massive trust issues with anything to do with Swindon Town, any owner, anyone who comes in, because anything bad ever happens, it's going to happen to us. It feels like that. But I think this is a good statement to say, trust us. We're going in it together. We can't do anything to your stadium without your input. And there's opportunities to bring more income into the club. That's the main aim. You have the commercial boxes. You can utilise, putting a hotel on the back. Suddenly making the stadium a more viable form of income that it's not relying on income every 2 weeks. It's making money. Needs more money into the club, needs more money on players, better squads, better facilities. It can only be good things, hopefully.
Joe, you are a sponsor, Archers Recruitment, aren't you? You do sponsor the club. I mean, what attracts you to a football club as a sponsor?
Wow, my husband's a Town fan, so and we run the business together, so it was inevitable that he wanted to put a board up in there. I don't know. I love it. I do. I don't think that it wouldn't be Swindon without the drama, would it? Really? I think. I don't know. It's everything. It's just I love it. I've absolutely, literally fallen in love with Swindon Town since I've started coming to watch them and supporting them, and I'm getting involved with things outside of the football as well. And I love it. I absolutely love it. I don't know. I mean, I think just having that, no, sorry, I'll tell a lie. One of the main reasons that we put the board up in the county ground was because our youngest is Swindon mad, absolutely Swindon mad, and we wanted to put the board up in there for him, really, more than anything. Just so it was that little bit of a proud thing. But business-wise, you've got to look at Swindon Town in this way. It's a business. That's what it is. It's Clem's business. It needs to be run like a business. Yes, with all the exciting things that are going on with the purchase of the county ground and, the executive boxes and all the proposed stuff that's going on in and around the county ground needs to be done. because it is a business. We need to get more revenue in. It's that simple. You know, but it is a very exciting time to be a Swindon fan. I'm loving it, absolutely loving it.
Yeah, I tell you what, you were matching the enthusiasm of Ryan Reynolds. There, I mentioned him yesterday at Wrexham.
Oh, don't. So I, funnily enough, lived in Wrexham before moving to Swindon.
There you go.
Yes. So and yeah, I used to drive past the race course quite frequently. But yeah, no, I mean, again, he's passionate about it, isn't he? I think I don't know. There's a lot of stuff on social media about the fairy tale that is Wrexham. But yeah, no, fair play. I do. I love Swindon. I've literally fallen in love with Swindon Town. That's exactly how it is for me. I've made some fantastic friends, probably more friends since coming to the football club than I have in the whole 17 years of living in Swindon.
It's great to know. Many of us have had that relationship. Sometimes it's been extraordinarily rocky, but we've had that relationship. Right, I'm going to quickly go around the panel because Kevin has asked, can you ask the panel playoffs the top three when the season is over? Jason, what are your thoughts? What are your feelings? How do you feel?
Obviously, it's got to be top three aim, but realistically, I think we'll come in 6th or 7th, hopefully, and then it's a lottery of the playoffs. I'm not going to get too carried away. It might take a little bit of time for Jody to work the magic, and if that means we walk the league next season, so be it. You know, I'll potentially wait if that's going to happen. But I think 6th or 7th.
Dan?
Well, one thing I will say, where we have showed ambition with the Austin signing, I think we've pushed the boat out for the Jody Morris appointment. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I think if we can get centre half, centre mid, and maybe a wide forward, then perhaps I'll adjust and say top three is gettable, because it feels like there could be a great groundwell of support and a lot of momentum behind Swindon in this league. Big away followings, big home crowds. But I don't know, head still says top 7.
Johnny Leafield, you were spot on last season when we all laughed at you. You went playoffs and we all went, you were spot on. What do you reckon?
I honestly have no idea at this point. I could say I could give you a prediction that sort of I think they'll get in the top 3, and you sit back. If it doesn't happen, then I don't think anyone's shocked really. But I think there is an opportunity now to get in the top 3. I think, like when I made my preseason prediction based on everything that was at the start of the year, I said they'd become between 8th and 12th, and I think they would have. I think it pretty much was kind of where it was heading. With a new coach who I think everyone has kind of lofty ambitions for. I think we think he's going to do well, and if they end up with a squad in a decent place, there's no reason why they couldn't make the top 3, because League Two's been so weird this year. Everyone thought Orient were kind of done, really. You know, it was like crown them champions around Christmas, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they don't even make the top 3 at this point.
They're having a Forest Green Rovers type blip, aren't they?
Yeah, they are like having an absolute calamitous kind of slip. So, I have no idea. I've got a horrible feeling that if I had to put money on it, I think we'll get in the playoffs. But I want to believe that we'll make the top 3. Is that okay?
No, I'm with you. The emotion of that Port Vale game hasn't left me yet, I have to say. Martin, where are you with this?
I think we've got a bit of a rocky road ahead. I think it's going to take Morris a bit of time to find his style and find the best out of the players. I think we'll scrape the playoffs, and then I think we'll win the semi and we'll win at Wembley, and they'll all be happy.
Yeah, well, Mitchell's already said that, so we'll take that as his answer. Joe, Sean says it's true. You make loads of friends at Swindon games. Got to know even more last couple of seasons. And it's true, you actually only see people at football. You never see them anywhere else, but you've known them for years. It's just one of those things. So where are you going to finish, Joe? Do you reckon?
I'm going to echo Johnny, I think, because yes, I'd like us to be in the autos, but I do think we'll potentially be in the playoffs. I was playing taxi last year to my boys, and just to be sat outside the county ground. I think it was the Forest. Was it Forest Green?
Mm.
Yeah. Oh, it's immense. But yeah, that's where I think that we're gonna. That's yeah. I'm just gonna say like what Johnny said.
Well, he wasn't sure, but I get the point.
First time.
Yeah. Have I asked you, Dan?
You have, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, a moment there, I'd forgotten who I hadn't unasked. But anyway, there we go. Martin Smith, hello, Martin. Top three, far too optimistic. We're 7 points behind. New players and coach will need time to gel. Nick says, will there be a panel on Wednesday to assess tomorrow? Watch this space. That's all I can say. Martin, all I can say to you is we wish you all the very best for this forthcoming trip. And good on you for doing it. And just give us those details of that online auction again.
Yeah, thanks so much for everybody at the club and the supporters club, the foundation as well for giving me so much support so far. And I'll forward across all the link for the Just Giving page and also the auction. And if you can circulate that around, that'd be fantastic for me.
Lovely. Well, we wish you all the very best for that, and stay safe. I think it's most importantly. Lots of things. Somebody says, what do I think about the playoffs or the automatic? I'm going to say I'd love automatic, but I'll take the playoffs. And off topic, where will you wait for the coach now that they've knocked the air balloon down? Malcolm, I honestly don't know where we're going to wait yet. We'll have to work that out at some point. Lots of fan-related material to come, of course. The Lone Stranger is available, and I'm sure they'll be recording another one. Are you going to record another one soon, Dan? After all,
I believe there are plans afoot to do a sort of post-transfer window wash-up and welcome Jody Morris, probably blended into one. Yeah.
Okay. Johnny will be available on all social media channels and your local newspaper, I'm sure, throughout the next few hours. Will you, Johnny?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much not going to stop until, I would say, 11 p.m. on Tuesday, but we all know that's not going to happen. I think it was up to like 1:30 in August. So, yeah, next couple of days, whenever it ends, really.
Fair enough. Joe, are you on the Fools Rush in anytime soon?
Yeah, I've got a little bit of a window this evening.
Oh, okay.
Yes. I might just check my top, though, just to confuse people.
And don't forget, the Tom Broadbent Lounge will be holding a transfer deadline special from 9 o'clock tomorrow night. Fools Rush in is on at 9. Chris, we're almost done, I think.
We are. Thank you very much, everybody. That was a bit of a manic one. It was great. So thank you very much to the panelists. Don't go anywhere when we go off. We'll just stay where you are. So thank you very much for watching, everybody.
Chris, happy retirement, we should say.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll have more time to do things like this. So, but yeah, so thank you, everybody, for watching. We couldn't get through all the questions. There was loads. We've had about 400 viewers tonight, which is fantastic. Hope you've all enjoyed it. As Vic said, we have kept a space available on Wednesday night, so watch out and see if we can do something then, if there's anything to report, anything to talk about. So we'll be back then maybe. If not, we'll see everybody that's going to Newport on Saturday. And have a good week, everybody, and we will see you soon. Bye.